I received the text in early December. Will you be coming home this year? It would mean so much to your father and me, wrote my mom. Then came the message that really got to me. The holidays aren't the same without you. I stared at those words for a long time. This was the kind of message I'd been hoping to receive for years. Words I'd rehearsed hearing so many times that I never questioned them when they finally appeared in my inbox. I smiled. Work had been brutal lately. My team was understaffed, and my sleep schedule had devolved into naps between Zoom meetings. But they miss me, I thought. They actually asked for me. So I did something I rarely do. I took time off. It took a full week of negotiating with my manager, shifting deadlines, and promising to check emails just in case. But I cleared 5 whole days. I bought a plane ticket. I even packed a few modest gifts. I imagined us actually talking, playing board games, laughing at cheesy holiday movies. The flight was long and uncomfortable. My seatmate ate something that smelled like hot cheese-dipped feet. But I didn't care. I was buzzing with the kind of foolish optimism that survives years of neglect and still shows up with a bow on its head. I stepped out of the Uber with my suitcase in hand and a smile on my face. That's when I saw my dad's car trunk open, with 3 large suitcases being stuffed inside. For a fleeting moment, I thought they might be surprising me. Maybe we were going somewhere together. This could be part of the plan. I was watching my holiday fantasy evaporate in real time. Then my mom spotted me and waved cheerfully. There she is, she called. Just in time. I blinked. Just in time for what? The cruise, she said, as if it were obvious. We didn't want to leave Max alone. She pointed to the dog watching me from behind the front door. I thought I'd misheard. You're going on a cruise? Just a quick getaway, my dad said, slamming the trunk. We've had a stressful year. My brother Ethan, sitting in the passenger seat, smiled at me. You'll be fine here. You love quiet. This is perfect for you. He said it like I was an appliance or a rice cooker, something designed specifically to function in silence. My mother handed me a folded list labeled Max's holiday routine. It included items like rub his ears clockwise, not counterclockwise, and lavender diffuser at 8 p.m. I said nothing. I just smiled and nodded like I always do when I'm trying not to cry. Already preoccupied, they gave me quick hugs. My mother reminded me not to let Max eat cheese. My father told me to pick up a delivery expected on Wednesday. Then they got in their car and drove away. No one asked about my flight. No one invited me to join them. No one even asked if I'd eaten. And suddenly, I was alone in a house that I owned. I hadn't lived with a dog in years, but I had formally adopted Max because I couldn't say no to my younger brother's request. I locked the door behind me. Max padded over, tail wagging uncertainly, and I knelt down. Hi, buddy, I whispered, scratching him. He smelled like wet socks and unwashed blankets. He looked thinner than I remembered, and his fur was rough. His water bowl was empty. 2 of his nails were overgrown, and something twisted inside me. I sat on the couch, filled his water bowl, removed the leftover food they'd left out, and stared at the blinking Christmas lights as if they might rearrange themselves into an apology. But nothing happened. The house was silent. The heater kicked on. Max curled up beside me. I had truly believed this year would be different. That maybe they were finally ready to see me as their daughter, not just as the one who sends money when the car breaks down or the kitchen renovation goes over budget. Their sister, not just their ATM. I was wrong. I felt foolish for ever believing it, for always thinking they would eventually find me worthy of staying for if I just worked hard enough, achieved enough, or proved helpful enough. Instead, they saw me as a convenient solution. Free dog sitting and built-in home security. Their own little robot who arrived on schedule. I tried to shake it off. That's what I'd done my entire life, making excuses for them. It's not personal, I told myself. It's just that I'm difficult to love. Maybe if I changed a few more things. I rubbed my temples, trying not to cry. The air smelled of candle wax and cinnamon. I was surrounded by decorations I hadn't hung. They hadn't thanked me for paying off the house, for watching a dog they no longer cared about once the novelty wore off. And the worst part? I still wanted them to call. Even then, I wanted them to turn the car around and say, "We're sorry. We didn't realize. We love you. Please come with us." But they didn't. They just didn't. Max sighed softly in his sleep. I gave him a long look, then went to the kitchen and opened my laptop. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending this was normal, because it wasn't. And maybe, just maybe, I'd had enough of waiting for someone else to notice. Max snuggled next to me on the couch, pressing his weight against my leg as if to help keep me grounded. He smelled of old shoes and sadness, his fur patchy and matted. But I didn't mind. He was the only one who hadn't left. No one came bursting through the door saying, "Surprise. We didn't really abandon you. We were just kidding. We do love you." I kept staring at the empty living room as if still expecting someone to do just that. I wasn't sure why it hit so hard this time. Maybe because I'd convinced myself I was more important than I actually was. That if I just kept giving, they would eventually see me as more than just the girl who paid for things. Maybe as someone they wanted around. I'd always believed if I could just fix whatever was wrong with me, they would let me in. Growing up, I assumed something about me must be broken. That I was missing some piece that made people shrug instead of embrace. It was me who was odd. The quiet one. The girl who color-coded her books, who loved creating Excel spreadsheets, who preferred math problems to makeup. When I was 10, my mother half-jokingly said, "You weren't the easiest child to bond with." When my brother teased me, everyone said it was just his way of showing affection. When I cried, they said I was too sensitive, so I stopped crying. That didn't help either. On one of my birthdays, I think I was 8, they threw me a party. I was thrilled. My brothers even claimed they'd invited neighborhood kids. I put on my best clothes and made cupcakes myself. But when I went outside, there were no children in the yard, just a sheet of paper with math problems taped to the fence. Ethan had laughed and said, "Your kind of party." Then they all rushed off to someone else's house for the real party. I sat on the porch steps for hours. I even solved all the equations. Maybe that was the secret, I thought. Maybe if I solved them all, they would come back. They didn't. By high school, I thought I could fit in better. I tried to laugh at the right times. I borrowed clothes from Tara, even though they never felt like mine. I practiced smiling in the mirror and joined clubs I didn't care about to avoid looking strange. Still, people called me intense, standoffish, somewhat robotic. I once overheard Tara say, "You're not ugly. I tried to teach you how to act like a real girl, but you just don't know how." I was the one forgotten on the invitation list. The one who only received thank you texts in response to Venmo requests. The one often told, "You're just really hard to get close to." My parents didn't come to my graduation. "We're proud of you, honey, but just don't let it go to your head," they said when I got into an Ivy League school. They said plane tickets were too expensive, until I saw photos from Ethan's birthday trip to Mexico that same week. They simply connected better with him, I told myself. It wasn't personal. They would start seeing me if I could just be more, anything. I got my degree. I found a job. Whenever they asked for money, I sent it. I paid the mortgage on the house they lived in. I helped Tara through her divorce. Maybe, I reasoned, generosity could substitute for closeness. Maybe if I gave enough to them, I would eventually make up the difference. But if someone has decided not to love you, no amount of giving can change that. I finally felt it. Not anger, not even betrayal. Just a slow, quiet realization as Max snored against my hip. I was a stand-in in their lives, a human-sized financial strategy. And I felt like the world's biggest fool for ever believing I could be more. I looked around at the mess they'd left behind. Food on counters, dirty dishes, half-unpacked boxes. They hadn't even bothered to tidy up when I was coming home for the first time in a year. Because in their eyes, I wasn't really a guest. I was the assistant, the responsible one, the built-in safety net. Max looked thinner than I remembered. His water bowl smelled strange, and his nails were too long. He whimpered softly when I knelt to scratch behind his ears, as if he'd been waiting weeks for someone to notice him. I leaned my head against the wall. Maybe I was the problem after all. Too hard to love, too quiet, too strange, too analytical. I replayed every interaction I'd ever had with my family, trying to pinpoint the exact moment I became invisible. Maybe I shouldn't have come. Maybe my success made me conceited. Maybe I stopped trying. Or maybe they never tried at all. I used to think setting boundaries meant being selfish, that only unkind people said no. That sacrifice was part of love, especially when it hurt. But now I just felt small and tired and finished. Max groaned softly as I stood up. I filled his bowl with fresh water and gave him a treat I'd found in the pantry, then sat down at the kitchen table to open my laptop. I didn't know what I was doing exactly, but I knew something had finally shifted inside me. Not broken, not exploded, just moved. I spent a long time staring at the search results after typing, "What to do if family lives in your house rent-free." I wasn't sure if I would actually follow through with anything. I didn't feel powerful. I didn't feel smart. I just felt done. Let them say I overreacted. Let them call me cold. Let them say whatever they wanted. They already had. Max nudged his nose against my palm. I gently rubbed his head and whispered, "If there's something wrong with me, at least I'm finally doing something about it." I slowly hit print on one of the articles, as if uncertain about this too. The paper slid off the tray. They returned on Sunday evening. I was still there. My manager had let me work remotely due to a family emergency. I knew exactly when the car pulled into the driveway because Max jumped out of his dog bed with a bark that was more startled than happy. My heart was racing more than I wanted to admit as I stood motionless in the hallway. It felt like hearing an alarm in a place I once felt safe. Car doors slammed. Loud, familiar, careless voices. "I told you she'd be fine," my mother said. "She loves quiet time." "She probably reorganized the pantry for fun," said Ethan. More laughter. I stood still. I watched through the peephole. Tara noticed first. She pulled the handle again after it didn't budge. I could imagine the slow boil of entitlement building as her eyebrows furrowed in confusion. "Why is the door locked?" Dad tried his key. Nothing. Ethan stepped up next, attempting to shoulder it open. Max barked again, louder this time, and I picked him up before he could get more agitated. My arm shook slightly, but not from fear. Something else. Something quieter. Final. Then came a knock. "Rachel, open up. The lock is jammed." Max and I sat on the couch as I stroked his ears. Another knock. Then harder, fists pounding. "Rachel, what the hell? Did you change the locks?" I didn't answer. I had changed the locks 3 days after they left. Not out of anger, though I had plenty of that, but practicality. The house was a mess. Max had been neglected. Several rooms showed damage. Doors were unlocked. Trash overflowed. As the legal owner, I had every right to secure the property. I consulted with a lawyer before taking any action. They returned expecting everything would still revolve around them. "You can't do this. This is our house," cried Tara. Then the floodgates opened. "Rachel, open this damn door right now. We trusted you with the dog in the house, and you don't get to just lock us out like some kind of. It's not just yours." But it was. It had been all along. I'd bought this place 6 years ago as a temporary measure. A backup plan. I paid the mortgage while they lived here until they could support themselves again. For some reason, they never left. In their minds, the house somehow became theirs, and I transformed into a kind landlord who owed them regular service and silence. I slowly stood up. My hands were shaking, but not in the usual way. Not from fear. From adrenaline. My body following my decision. I approached the front door, but didn't open it. I just spoke through the closed frame. "I secured the property," I stated in a steady voice. "You left it in poor condition. Max was neglected. The house was unlocked. I consulted with a lawyer." Silence, then loud and angry. "Rachel, you're insane. You can't just change the locks because you feel like it." "I didn't feel like it," I replied. "I'm the legal owner, and I did what was necessary to protect my home." Ethan started yelling that he would sue me. Dad's voice rose to a level I hadn't heard since I was 15, when he suggested skipping church for my math competition. "You ungrateful brat. After everything we've done for you." I laughed. I didn't mean to. The sound that came out was sudden, sharp, breathless. It surprised me. "Everything you've done for me." I repeated. "You mean the financial black hole? The free dog sitting? Or maybe the birthday party where you left me alone with math problems?" More shouting. I walked away. I called my lawyer and informed her they had arrived. She instructed me not to open the door and to tell them all further communication should go through her office. Ethan then tried to pry open the kitchen window, going around from the porch. Tara shrieked. Mom stood crying in the yard, loud enough for neighbors to hear. Dad paced back and forth. I called the police. When they arrived, I provided them with the deed, photos documenting the house's condition, and the veterinarian's report from Max's examination. The officers were calm and professional. One of them turned to my dad. "Sir, she owns the house. There's no lease agreement. She has every legal right to secure the property." My mother sobbed. "You're just going to let her do this to us?" "She hasn't done anything illegal," the officer replied. For once, no one took my family's side. No one twisted the narrative to make me the villain. No pitying glances or jokes at my expense. Just facts, just boundaries, just someone hearing me. The police suggested they leave and resolve any disputes through proper legal channels. My family stood there, shocked, angry, embarrassed, but eventually left. I watched from the window as their car backed out of the driveway. Tara flipped me off from the passenger seat as they turned. Ethan yelled something I couldn't hear. My mother didn't look back. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the one left behind. Max climbed awkwardly into my lap, grounding me with his weight. "I think we're going to be okay," I whispered. I'd always hoped if I just fixed myself, they would accept me. That if I tried hard enough, smiled enough, contributed enough, they would see me. But I didn't need fixing. Being the quiet one hadn't broken me. It had made me mine. I didn't cry. I thought I might, but there were no tears left. Just a strong, pulsing feeling of something else. Strength, peace, release. I didn't feel hurt anymore, or angry, just finished. And sometimes that's stronger than anger. I thought that would be the end of it. But when entitlement has been their love language for decades, people like my family don't lose quietly. 3 days after they left, the emails started coming. First my dad, then my mother, then my sister. Confusion gave way to anger, then to desperate manipulation. "You've embarrassed us. We don't understand why you're doing this. You're being dramatic, Rachel. This isn't like you." And finally, Tara's cherry on top. "You seriously need help." I didn't respond. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. Then came the escalation. They tried to break in again, this time in the middle of the night, assuming I would be away. The security camera captured Ethan and my dad trying to force the back door with a crowbar as the motion sensor lights came on. Once again, the police arrived. This time, they didn't leave empty-handed.